Hey guys, welcome back to another video. The topic of today's video is going to be how you deal with triggers and how you can use triggers to gauge where you're at. So anyways, I have an interesting story today, and this is something that I've kind of been anticipating. And I did record a little segment of right after this happened to kind of capture the raw moment. Hey, I just want to make this quick video just to kind of capture the moment and give you a glimpse into the mind of Duane. And this will be, anyways, I wake up this morning. I have to take my daughter to her orientation at college today. And this is going to be an example of triggers, our past triggers, trying to sabotage events and all that type of stuff. And I'm going to make this quick and I'll roll this into a longer video. The point is, or what I'm trying to get at is, I get an email that there's a new document available with the California Department of Child Support Services. I'm like, I wonder what that's about. So I open it up and go into this, go into the app. And actually, I didn't see a new document, but the support has gone up and I'm now in arrears. And one of the things that I may not have mentioned is whenever my daughter turned 18, my ex didn't validate that she was still in school. And at the time, I thought, okay, well, as soon as she misses a check, she's going to freak out and turn it back on, kind of like what she did with our son. But she didn't do it. And I'm thinking, is she really that stupid? Or is this a vindictive ploy just to wait for it to get to arrears to be a weapon to be used at one other point? And I was kind of curious. I'm like, man, and I knew that at any point, at any time in the future, she could go back and say, I wasn't receiving what I was supposed to be receiving. Now, here's the thing. In the past, if I would have got something like that, my blood would have boiled. I would have got really angry. I would have got anxious and everything like that. I actually laughed. It actually made me smile because I'm like, yes, I have her pegged. I know exactly who she is. I know that she's this vindictive, worthless piece of human waste. And it was interesting because I mean, in the past, when something like that would happen, I would just get really, really stressed and angry, and just like adrenaline would drop. Laughing was not my first reaction in the past. So now, I mean, I kind of have a plan to figure this out. It's a little tough. Actually, I was kind of figuring she would do it after June was over, because technically, since my daughter graduated in June, I have to pay for the month of June. So, it's it's amazing. Anyways, my point on this, and then I'll roll this into other stuff, but I just kind of wanted to capture, because I literally am getting ready to run out the door to go grab my daughter and drive her down to the university. But I just wanted to show that just getting out of the shower, basically being foggy. I don't like getting up this early, to be honest. And getting some news like this, there is a point in time to where it can actually not have this horrible, fight-flight response that you would normally get. I actually laughed. And I'm going to have it. It's going to be a little difficult. I'm going to have to move some things around and stuff like that. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I'm really glad that it did happen, because that last part with high school and the senior trip and the 8th grade trip and everything, because, I have to pay for all that. At least I had a little bit of extra money to do that. So I was kind of like, I guess, taking a loan from myself. So now I just have to decide whether I need to take a loan to pay her or how I'm going to deal with that. But anyways, I'll talk more about this. I just wanted to capture it before I ran out the door. Bottom line is, the point, you can and will get to the point that whatever they do, it doesn't bother you anymore, because it can't get to you, because in the grand scheme of things, you don't care. It's like their pathetic little life, and at least you're not underneath it anymore, right? All right. Talk to you later. Now, the thing about why this is important, or what to tie this back with triggers, is in the past, when something like this would happen, I would get that anxiety feeling. I mean, my tightness in my chest, I would feel really anxious, and, I would have that post-traumatic stress response that we're all really familiar with, and it would really just throw me. I mean, I would kind of go into a tailspin. But strangely enough, or oddly enough, when I saw it, I actually laughed and smiled. It was actually kind of entertaining. It was basically funny. Now, I get that this is going to be problematic for me, and I'm going to have to come up with the money to get current and all that stuff, which isn't really great timing. But, you know, it is what it is. But I was really interested by my own reaction. And it was funny because when I did that, and I didn't have that stress response, I was like, wow, this is really weird, because all the other times something like this would happen, it would be really, really stressful, and it would really send me down the pit of hell. I think the main takeaway from this is that this crap isn't going to hold you forever. To elaborate on this a minute or a little bit more, is I had a friend of mine who was divorced earlier in his life, and he used to tell me that some of the stuff that his ex would do, and it was pretty vicious. I mean, like, you know, making sure that they always asked for child support increase, and they would make sure he was served on his birthday every year until their child was 18. And when he told me that, I'm like, man, that is just so screwed up. And I would actually get angry just by him telling me the story. That story would trigger me. And one of the things he said way back when is he's like, it's just funny. I mean, some of this stuff is just funny that they do. And I remember thinking to myself, how in the hell can this ever be funny? This isn't funny. This is evil, vindictive, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so here I am today, granted it's 8 years later, and this happens, and my first reaction is to laugh. And it is funny. The interesting part about this is when this whole thing happened, I've been kind of wondering, trying to guess. It's like, okay, so is she going to forget completely about turning it on? Is it done for effect? Is she going to wait until later, until something happens where, you know, I got this little arrow or this arrow in my quiver, bink, and be able to do that? I didn't know. So here we are. And actually, the only thing that was a little bit weird when it happened is I was like, oh, that's weird. Why did the child support go all the way up? Because, you know, everything's over. Well, it's still June, right? I still have to pay for the month of June. So it's like they turned it right back on, and they have the arrearage is like $1,200. They say, you're behind $1,200, which is, you know, whatever. So my point on this is that you can use your trigger points to really gauge how you're healing. When something happens, and I know you guys have heard me talk about this before, but when something happens, if you get triggered and you get that anger feeling and you get that PTSD response or that emotional flashback response, that is an indicator that you have more to do. That's an indicator that you're not completely healed. The bad part or the sad part is that when we're experiencing those, we can feel that this is going to last forever, that we're going to have those responses forever. And right now, today, I have an example for you that it doesn't. It doesn't last forever. You can progress past this. You can get to the point, you will get to the point where it doesn't bother you. Yeah, it's still going to affect my life, right? I mean, I'm going to have to do some things. I'm going to have to change some things around. But it's not as devastating as it was before. And as you heal from this, as you work on those past traumas, as you work on those wounds and you really deal with it, this is why it's really important that you do not just put those things in a box, put them in the back of your mind, hide them under your bed and ignore them. Because what will happen is, had I done that, when this happened today, if I would have not processed this and healed through it, this would have triggered me and I would be in a much different mood, and this would probably be a much different video. So the thing is now, when I look at things that happen, I use it as a gauge. In some ways, I almost look forward to what's going to happen because it's a test for me. It's a test for the relationship, and meaning testing like can I guess what the ex is going to do? And it makes it kind of interesting. So I know that can sound a little weird, especially when you're in the middle of it, but I just want to put this out there because if you are still early on, and when I say early on, you could be 2 years out. It does take a long time for you to really start to be able to heal from this. But if you see those, don't stop yourself. I mean, don't stop yourself. What I mean is don't completely go down the rabbit hole. Stop yourself, take a breath, and go, okay, let me take a step out of this situation, look at it objectively, and really think about how things are going. Think about how you're responding to it. Think about how you're allowing it to affect you and how you look forward, or what's your way forward to try to minimize it or mitigate it. So that's really the key, to use these incidences to help you gauge where you're at, to help you gauge where your progress is going. And I hope that by hearing my story and seeing the progress I've been able to make through these last 8 years, you can see, okay, here's a guy that was me. A lot of times when you guys tell me your stories, to a man or to a woman, our stories are very similar. So when you guys tell me what you're feeling, I can completely remember back at an incident where that exactly same thing happened to me. So take a breath, look at it objectively, and just say, okay, obviously I still need to work on it. I need to, reapproach this in a different way. And then you can basically take a step back and start looking at, okay, how do I go from here? This is my, this is my new circumstances. What do I have to, that's like in my situation. It's like, okay, I'm going to have to come up with some money to make this thing go away. That's going to be tough. Don't get scared about it. That's kind of what I'm saying to myself. Don't get scared. Don't get freaked out about it. What can I do? And already in my mind, I'm already thinking of different things that I can do to try to minimize and mitigate this. And that's what I'm going to do. The other thing is whenever you can do that and you can look at it in connection with your ex, and you can say, you know what, this person and this person absolutely did this at the prime time to try to make sure it happened either on Father's Day or around the time that I was taking our daughter to her college orientation, to screw it up, to make me upset, to make me, have maybe even a lash out at the kids because of it. And whenever you can look and say, you know what, I know exactly what they're doing. I can see exactly what the ex is trying to do, exactly what they're trying to provoke me to do. You can make a decision to not do it. And that is so empowering. And it really changes everything. I know some of these concepts can seem a little advanced if you're really in the early stages of it. And if it is, that's okay. If what I just told you makes you, gives you that stressed response, that's an indicator that you still have more to work on, and that's okay. This takes a long time for us to work on, and we have to go through that process. Fortunately, we can't rush it. It's like I've used the analogy before, if you're training, like training for a marathon. I am in no shape to go run a marathon tomorrow. I can't. If I wanted to do that, I would have to train to be able to do it. It's along the same lines. You have to realize where you're trying to go, where you're trying to get to, and start working towards it. And you'll make slow, gradual progress until you finally get there. So on that, if you have some examples that you've dealt with this, with triggers, and maybe how they're different now, put them in the comments below. That type of stuff is great for new people who are in the middle of it, to see that there are multiple people who can say that the same type of stuff has happened. If you like this channel, please consider subscribing, ring the bell notification so that YouTube will actually tell you about a video. If you think somebody that could benefit from this, please share it with them, and I'll chat with you on the next video. Take care, guys. Bye.